What the f*** do you mean what am I talking about?
Out here talking
You! Get in! You! Minor league mother is what you are. I'll tell you guys something right f***ing now. It's not easy to be a f***ing champion, all right? It's the hardest f***ing thing there is to do. Are you guys that f***ing good? You're not. I'll tell you that right the f*** now. Wise up. Buddy, go ahead and say what the f*** you want to say.
Oh, we've got a lot to say today. You could consider this the first playoff edition of 86th, the Wally Backman Show. Welcome aboard. I'm Bruce, and up there, right there, is the birthday boy, Wally Backman. And Wally, it's all about the postseason and all the myriad of opportunity to get there in this incredible final weekend of the baseball season. Happy birthday, and how are you, brother?
I'm doing great. You know, Bruce, it was a great birthday. I had a great time with my kids, lots of people at the house, but I guess we're going to go right to the pennant races. Is that what we want to do today? So, you know, I'm looking at what we have going into today, and the Padres are up 3.5 games, but, you know, they're only 3 games behind the Dodgers for first place. And I'm going to go more into the Dodgers in last licks today, but, you know, the Mets and the Diamondbacks are tied for the second and third spot. And then you got Atlanta 1 game out. You know, I think about, I don't know what kind of fiasco, because I want to ask you about that here in a little bit. But, you know, with both these games getting rained out in Atlanta, it really kind of changes the perspective a little bit, because I think if they would have played those games, we'd have known a little bit more. But I think it's an advantage to the Mets because, you know, Milwaukee's in a position where they're probably not going to be 1 or 2 in the race. And so they can probably set their rotation for the postseason now, opposed to before. If everything worked out, they may have had to throw in their best guys just to get into the postseason. But you know, with that being said, you know, they might have to have a doubleheader on Monday on the off day before the postseason. So God only knows, the Mets might be flying all over the world, you know, to finish the day. But you know, it's just something that's going to happen. You know, I mean, I think the Dodgers and the Phillies are 1 and 2, so they're going to get buys. And the other side in the American League, the Yankees and the Guardians are going to be 1 and 2. So they're going to get a bye. And I'll just say something really brief about a bye. You're going to have those 3 or 4 days off, whatever it might be. And I know as a player, it's almost like the All-Star break. I don't know if it's better to have a bye or not have a bye, just because it's almost like you're starting over. Like when we would have the All-Star break, you're gone for 3 days, and all of a sudden, God, it almost seemed like the season was starting over. It took a couple of days to get into the groove. Well, you better be into the groove when that postseason starts, even if you do get a bye. And I just don't know. I really don't like the idea of having the bye, Bruce.
Interesting. You know, I'll give you an example where you're exactly right. This to me is now they didn't have the wild card round, but if you remember, the Colorado Rockies made it to the World Series against the Boston Red Sox. They finished that season like 30-4. They rolled through the playoffs, beat the living daylights out of the Diamondbacks, and then had to wait a week for the World Series, and they got swept. Now, maybe they would have anyway. That's a very good Boston team. When the way I look at it here, Wally, is whoever gets a bye, somebody, and I don't know if the National League or the American League will begin on Friday, and then both will play Saturday, and then one, if it's whoever it is, could have 6 days off, theoretically 6 days off before they begin, be it the Yankees, the Guardians, the Phillies, or the Dodgers. Not that I care about any of those 4 teams, but I'm just saying, you know, they'll have like 6 days off, Wally. I don't like that either.
Yeah, I don't either. You know, you can have simulated games. You can have some minor league guys that teams have in Florida or Arizona right now, guys ready to pitch to these guys. or whatever. But a simulated game is nothing like a real baseball game. So maybe there's advantages to setting up your rotation, but it's definitely a disadvantage, I feel, to the hitters.
Yeah, I want to talk about setting up rotation. The other thing that makes this just great is that everybody who needs to win is playing somebody who needs to win. So it's not like the Braves are playing Miami, okay, or the White Sox or anything. Everybody who needs to win is playing someone who needs to win. And
Yes.
that is, as a baseball fan, it's epic. It's an epic final weekend. However, as always, Wally, Major League Baseball, while they do one good thing, they shit all over themselves in another. Wally, listen to this. They gave the Braves the opportunity to move this series with this hurricane descending, okay, and coming in. And the Braves said, no, we want the gate. Well, now you got the cane and no gate. They should have moved the series to Charlotte, something like that, or, someplace safe where Atlanta fans could travel if they wanted to. But now they screwed themselves. They screwed baseball. I actually think they did the Mets a favor because now Chris Sale and Max Fried won't be pitching day to day. And we'll get into the matchups over the weekend. But I think the Mets were done a huge favor. And on the Mets side, Wally, this doesn't include the 86. For the last 20, 25 years, I speak for a lot of Met fans. I want you, man, let me just tell you, man, there's sleepless in Seattle, and then there's gutless in Atlanta. Okay? I'm sick of this shit. I'm just saying, Wally, I'm sick of this crap. We can't beat the Braves. The last time we set up our rotation against Atlanta, we threw DeGrom, Scherzer, and Bassett, all having excellent years. Guess what? DeGrom gave up more home runs in that game than he's ever given up before in any game. So stop setting up the rotation and grow some balls. Why can't you beat the Braves?
Just play baseball.
Well, somebody needs to tell them. Wally, you know a team when they clam up, when they get tight. I don't know. This is a different version than, different names and everything. But look, okay, it's one game. But I'm just saying, if the Mets play last night, I have no confidence they're beating the Cy Young winner this year, Chris Sale. Now it's 2 games. And then you got the last game, and Max Fried is a bitch to handle.
There's no question about it. I think the Braves hurt themselves in this too, Hey, maybe that series doesn't even matter on that Monday. If the Mets could go in and sweep Milwaukee, it might not even matter. So that would crush the Braves. Well-deserving. And let's go, Mets. Let's see what you can do. You're playing a great team, but you're playing good baseball right now.
Okay, so here are the matchups for the weekend that matter, that Met fans care about. The Mets are in Milwaukee. They got Manaea scheduled to pitch Friday against Frankie Montas. Right now, the Mets are throwing the question mark for Saturday, Sunday. You can mark it down. It'll be Peterson on Saturday. And if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But I say it'll be Severino back on Sunday. They will not throw Quintana in that game. Well, maybe they will. I guess depending on everything depends on what happens the previous night. But that's what I believe. Milwaukee's going to counter with Montas and who knows what else.
Right. Well,
now, go ahead. I'm sorry.
We've talked about many times on the show. He's their best. So let's see what he can do in that game 1 there. And it's going to be interesting. I think this series against Milwaukee might be more important than the series against the Mets or against the Braves, because the hardest thing to do in baseball is to win a doubleheader. And if you got to win 2 going into Atlanta, or Atlanta even has to win 2 at home, it's not an easy task. So I think the advantages to the Mets, I think they just got to keep playing good baseball the way that they are.
All right, Atlanta plays Kansas City. KC has lined up Singer, Lugo, and Cole Reagans, probably the rookie of the year. The Braves are countering with Fried, and then we'll tell you later, and then we'll tell you later. So nothing right now as far as you can bet Chris Sale's going to pitch if they need to win. They're not going to save him for Monday because there may be nothing to save him for.
Correct.
And so that means the Mets could miss Fried and Sale in that doubleheader.
No, that's
if
very
it needs
possible.
to be played.
It could happen if they have to. They're hurting themselves. But, from there, I guess we'll talk about it later. Uh, I think the next thing we were going to talk about was the Acuna brothers, I believe. Um, from
Yes.
You start
You
this
know,
off.
my
I know
question to
what
you
I
on
want to say,
Wally.
Bruce.
Yeah. Well, how do you feel as the manager? Let's say you work for the Mets. And here's my only question. These guys are brothers. You work for the Mets. Would you tell Luis Angel, hey, listen, no cavorting with your brother over the next 3 days? Would you do that, Wally? Or how would you handle that, Wally?
No, I don't think I could stop that because I think it could get a really good conversation what they're talking about, which would be great for the media and all that kind of stuff. Fraternizing in baseball, it's always been there. It used to be, hey, once you're on that field, you can't talk to the other players, the other teams, no matter who they are. I think they've lightened up on that in baseball. They're still going to say there's no fraternizing, but brothers are brothers, and brothers gets in fights against each other, just like I did with my older brother and younger brother. And the next day we're fishing or playing baseball together, or whatever we might be doing, we're still doing it together. But it would be an honor if I could have ever played with my brother. I did at a younger age. My older brother Mike, that's 5 years older than me, but to be able to play against your own brothers, I think that's a special thing. And you know what? If they want to talk, they should be able to talk to each other. Baseball should just stay the F out of it, not worry about what these guys are saying or talking about, because the bottom line, it's all about winning.
Yes. Let me pause here. We'll get to one more item. No, actually, let's get to this last item. And then I want to tell you how you can get a hold of the show. And Wally's got some new stuff going on as well. Last thing, Wally, the Chicago White Sox.
Oh my God.
Yes. They actually won on Thursday, or they were well ahead at showtime. Now, Wally, they're 39 and 120. They got to go into Detroit, and the Tigers need to win. I'm going to lay down the marker. The White Sox are getting swept. They're going to finish 39 and 123, and the Mets will be out of the record book. Give me some thoughts.
No, I was just going to say that the Mets are finally going to come out of the record books here in about 4 or 5 days. So that's a big thing. That's a bad point for Met history, but it'll be a good thing now because they won't be that team. It's going to be the Chicago White Sox. And, I listened to a thing on, I don't know, ESPN or whatever it was about the White Sox GM. I think it's Getz. They're talking about not making any changes for 2025. Really? Do they want to break their own record that they're going to set here in a few days? Because they might. So,
Well, they're going to make one change, as are a bunch of people, Wally. And I want to get into this with you. Okay. I mentioned I'm going to we have Josh Thole coming up, and I'm going to ask him about this too. Wally, there's going to be 7 or 8 openings minimum. Okay. We got an opening in Cincinnati. We have an opening in Seattle. We have an opening on the south side of Chicago right now with the White Sox, all filled by interim guys. David Bell fired. I think Minnesota's going to fire Baldelli. I wouldn't feel too comfortable if I were Kevin Cash. There's a few other guys for some disappointing teams out there that very well could walk the plank. So my question to you, if somebody calls, are you going to listen?
I would definitely listen. Yeah, everybody has my number, Bruce. Everybody knows that my goal was to manage in the big leagues, and I had that short term in Arizona, and stuff had happened. But I would listen. I'm not opposed to managing any team in the big leagues. I think that I have what it takes to make any team better. But believe it or not, I know a lot of the people with the White Sox still, and I love the city of Chicago. And you can't be worse than they are this year. There's no possible way. I could put 965-year-old Wally Backmans on the field, and we wouldn't be this bad.
Yeah. So let me ask you this. Let's just say, and this is hypothetical, you had your choice. In your opinion, Cincinnati, Seattle, the White Sox, let's say Minnesota. I know you didn't enjoy your time up there, but they also played in a shitty stadium. Now they got the outdoor stadium and all this business. A couple of other teams, I'm sure, are going to make a change after disappointing campaigns. Maybe Pittsburgh. Keep your eye on that situation. I think St. Louis is going to blow out Marmol, and we know that's a great baseball city. If given your choice,
I'll
I
tell
know
you
you
what.
would take any of them, but if given your choice, what do you
I
like?
think my first choice, because I know they're a talented team, but they absolutely have choked the last few years going down the stretch, and that's Seattle. Because I think if you change the culture a little bit, um, there's a lot of talent there. They were so good early in the year, the first half, and even beyond the first half, and just to really shit the bed here in the end the last month or so, just like Minnesota has. Minnesota's got good players. I don't think they'll get rid of him, Rocco, just because Minnesota is pretty loyal. Um, they kept Gardy through the bad years. They kept Tom Kelly through the bad years. I think they'll stick with Rocco. I think they like him, but who knows? You never know what different people are thinking. But Seattle's an interesting team. Cincinnati's an interesting team. Chicago is a no-brainer because sign a 3 or 4 year contract. Um, you can't be as bad as they are this year. But the other side of it is I don't like to lose. And I would like to have an opportunity, if ever given one, to have a team that I knew could compete.
Yeah. If you want to get with Wally, we've got a lot of different ways, and we've got social media coming up in just a little bit. Don't forget Josh Thole on the other side. First off, at Facebook, it's at Wally Backman. On X, Wally underscore Backman6. YouTube, youtube.com/The Wally Backman Show. Yes, he's on Instagram at Wally underscore Backman86. And of course, you can always email as well. It's the Wally Backman Show at gmail.com. Wally is also joined up, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to tell you a little bit with Cameo and also Past Pros. We're going to tell you a little bit more about that in the social media segment. Wally, you got Josh Thole lined up today. I'm really excited. The author of the only 9-inning complete game. And of course, there's controversy, but nonetheless, it is an official no-hitter. He caught the game against Johan Santana. Wally, this is only one of 2 times I've ever cried during a sporting event. The other was
Josh, he's a great human being, Bruce. I didn't look it up. I know that you and I talked about it, but David Freese hit a questionable ball down the third baseline in that no hitter of Santana's. And I still haven't watched it, and I'm going to watch it, but I know that it's questionable because we talked about it. But to have Josh coming up as our guest he's a special friend of mine. He wasn't a great player, but he caught the no hitter. Great human being, would do anything he could to get in a game and play in the minor leagues. He didn't care where he played. And Josh is going to tell us a lot more about that coming soon.
Hey, by the way, do you remember what you did in your first at-bat in the big leagues?
Base hit, up the middle.
All right. So you and Thole, you have matching stories because he also got a base hit his first game in the. You got a base hit your first at bat too, huh?
Well, Josh and I have that in common. I know that he said he stole a base in his right after his first at bat. I didn't. I got a base hit. I got 2 hits in my first game in Dodger Stadium in front of 55,000 people. So he played in Colorado. I think his first game he probably played in front of 10. So I got one up on him.
All right, Josh Thole is coming up, Met fans. That's next.
Thole to deep right field. Back goes Morse near the wall, and it's out of here. Josh Thole with a walk-off home run at the bottom of the 10th inning.
All right, it is 86, the Wally Backman Show, and we are thrilled today to bring you one of the lesser, not the top Billboard name, but let's not ever forget, this is the man who caught the only no-hitter in Mets history. It is great to be joined by Josh Thole. And Josh, I'm Bruce, and you know Wally. You played for Wally. It's great to have you. How are you, sir?
Yeah, I'm doing well, Bruce. Thanks for having me. Wally, thanks for having me on. This was when you started your show. I have been an avid I've been an avid listener, so I'm excited to be on here.
All right, Josh, I got a couple of questions. Bruce talked about the no-hitter and stuff, and I want to ask you what it was like. But before I ask you what it was like, did you realize at some point in time, obviously you knew it was a no-hitter. Did you realize if he threw a no-hitter, if Santana threw that no-hitter, that would be the first 9-inning no-hitter by a New York Met ever? Did you know that?
I did not know that, Wally. You know, when I found out, I came off of the field and Jay Horowitz grabbed me to do some media stuff, and he said, "Hey, congratulations, not only on the no-hitter, but on the first no-hitter ever in Mets history." I said, "Jay, you're full of shit." Like, I kind of laughed it off. Went in the clubhouse, and that was the buzz, the first one ever. And I just like, I didn't think it was true
Yeah.
until I found out it was real.
No, it's true. It's the first 9-inning no-hitter by an individual. I think it's the second that there was a no-hitter by multiple Mets one year. So, but nothing like what Santana did. But during that game, I'm thinking, when did you really think about the no-hitter? Was there something that triggered you thinking about, hey, I'm catching a no-hitter. This guy's throwing a no-hitter. I mean, what did you think back then?
Well, I think when Mike Baxter made the catch off the wall and I realized we had a no-hitter going, that was the moment for me where, I mean, you know, Wally, you've seen it, I'm sure, plenty of times in your career, and there's always something that stands out in the game in a special moment like that. And that was a moment where Mike Baxter goes into the wall, catches the ball, comes out of the ball game, breaks his collarbone. Quite frankly, like, his career was over
Right.
at that point. And that was a moment that really set in, but not until about the seventh or eighth inning did it really start becoming real. Johan, I mean, Wally, you know Johan. He's goofing around in the dugout, whether he's pitching or not pitching. And that was a day in about the seventh inning where he just sat by himself. And that was just, those are just a couple different examples that I think, started signaling to me that we're onto something special.
Right. Yeah. No. That was a great day for not only for him but for you as a catcher to be able to say that you caught a no hitter. Not many guys can say those type of things, Josh. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I appreciate it, Wally. It's something I tend to pinch myself occasionally over. You don't think about it until I live in New York now, so I'm around Mets fans all the time, and they bring it up, and it's like, damn, I really did catch a no hitter. So it is a special. It is something special.
Did
for
you
sure.
keep your glove and your equipment?
Oh yeah. Well, I have my glove. My equipment went to the Hall of Fame. That's for a whole nother story offline,
Okay.
Wally. It went to the Mets Hall of Fame, and I think you could probably do the math on where it ended
Yep.
up. So unfortunately, I don't have it, but I have my helmet and my glove.
Okay. Cool. So anyway, just to not really change subjects during that no hitter that Santana threw and you caught, they had asked Terry Collins before the game. And Terry had said he wasn't going to let Santana go over 115 pitches. And we know that he threw 134 pitches and those type of things. My question is, did Terry consult with you at all during the game, late in the game, how Santana looked, how he felt, or any of that kind of stuff?
Yeah, he was very from about the sixth inning on. There was communications between myself, Dan Worthen, and TC on like what was, how was his stuff more than like how was he feeling. I will say there was a moment in probably the seventh or eighth inning where Johan was like, "You're not taking me out of this ball game. Like, I'm finishing it regardless." And again, there was some heated conversations as you could imagine to protect his arm. But I think it was an opportunity for Johan to get a no hitter, and I think he was so far into it at that moment that there was no going back.
Yeah, there was no way he was going to say, "Oh no, I'm tired," or any of that kind of bullshit. He was in that game for the duration of the game, But I don't think it's a big issue. Everybody thinks that 134 pitches, but Santana actually, I think it was his next start, actually slipped on first base, covering first base or something, hurt his ankle, and then he only made like 10 or 12 starts after that in his career, or something like that. It wasn't very many, but I think it was all because of that, And everybody tries to bring it up about he threw 134 pitches. My God, when I played. And when people played before me, Josh, 134 pitches was nothing.
No, was nothing. I mean, hell, in today's game, and I don't mean to get off tangent here, but in today's game, you can't even like get through the fourth and fifth inning as a catcher. you're trying to get into a rhythm with your guy. And that may take 60, 70, 80 pitches. Well, now, especially towards the end of my career, I mean, they were running the guy out of the ball game if by 70 or 80 pitches, so you can never get into a rhythm. So I mean, I would love to see the starters, and I don't know the science. I'm not like that into the science and all that shit, but I do think there's a value of letting lengthening the guys back out and letting them go 7-8, get complete games.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think that's one of the new rules they're trying to bring in to make the pitchers pitch longer. That's something I've heard or read about or something, and it's probably a good thing.
Yeah.
You know, it's something that baseball was once. They're always trying to change something in the game, and some of the things are good, some of the things are bad. I feel, when I was in the Atlantic League, where you played for me in the Atlantic League, we had to do all those rule change things for Major League Baseball, and some of them were crazy when they tried to move the mound back another foot, and then they were trying to say, well, it doesn't make a difference. It's not going to hurt anybody. Come on, they got a foot is a foot, especially for a pitcher. So, I think some of it's crazy, but no, I mean, the no-hitter was a special time for you, special place. It had to have been.
Yeah.
But I'll go on to let's talk about the pennant races for a minute. What do you got going on in your head? We'll just do it briefly. We're going to talk about it later, Bruce and I. But I'm sure that and I could even go to the scoreboard watching. I remember as a player, I would watch the scoreboard a little bit when it was the playoffs late in the season or whatever. And I think I find myself now more not as a player to watch those things more now. And to just see where they're at. My big question is most of the stuff that Bruce and I do now are about the Mets, but what do you think about the Mets? What's your call on the Mets this year?
Well, I think if they can get over this hump of whatever is happening on Monday now with the doubleheader and all of that, if they can get into the playoffs, I think they're going to have their hands full. But they're not my World Series pick. I'll say that much. But I do think that they can make some noise down the road. I think they got to make sure the pitching is in line, as most teams do right now. Get Lindor healthy again. That's kind of a weird thing. What had happened down the stretch here, but if you can get the stars aligning, I think they can make some noise in the postseason.
I got one more thing, and then I want to give Bruce a chance to ask you a few questions. Just kind of go through your run becoming a Met, because you're drafted by the Mets. Tell me how that all panned out, and I also wanted to ask you in the end. I know you were traded to Toronto and stuff, and my first trade was to Minnesota, which was a nightmare for me. But just kind of give me a little rundown on what it was like for you. We'll talk about playing for me later, but tell me what you got.
Yeah. So, all right, I'll just kind of answer it here in a long version of the question. So, I was drafted in 2005 by the Mets. I went to what was called the Florida, the Gulf Coast League, I think, at that moment in 2005, right out of high school. So drafted out of a small town in Southern Illinois. Nobody's really ever been drafted from our area. And it was like a big stepping stone to start putting Southern Illinois on the map, which is kind of another story in itself, but it's pretty cool. I went level by level. So I went from the Gulf Coast League, which was like rookie ball, short season. And I know, Wally, you know this obviously, but this is for the people listening, is rookie level low A or rookie level short season. Then from there, I went to Kingsport, Tennessee, which was another version of rookie ball. After the 2006 season, there was like talks of me, like, quite frankly, getting released because I was like, I didn't hit the ball well. I was the adjustment to the wooden bat. I didn't really have a position. I was stockpiled behind a bunch of prospects. I vowed to like go play pretty much any position that they asked me to play. I mean, I played all over the place just to like try to get myself in the lineup. From there, I went to, they kept me. The next year, which would have been 2007, I went to low A, which was Savannah. And that was really where I kind of like took off a little bit. I played strictly first base, and I hit about I hit north of 300, I believe. And from that point on, they came to me, asked me to move back behind the plate, and the rest is history. I went to high A, double A, and then the year in 2009 was when I got called up to the big leagues in September. Um, from there, I was kind of up and down. 2010, I got optioned back to triple A and then recalled, and then I stayed. After I got recalled the first time with R.A. Dickey, I stayed in the major leagues until I got traded to the Blue Jays after the 2012 season, and then spent 2013 to 2016 with the Blue Jays. And then from there, bounced around the minor leagues, got hurt in 2017, 2018, got released, went and played for Wally in 18. He promised me he could get me a job back in affiliated ball, which he did after about a month. So I appreciate you. I want to tell that story at some point, Wally, when you just were freaking blowing my phone up. I think that's like one of my favorite stories. And quite frankly, it bought me 3 more years in the minor leagues. Learned a lot over those 3 years. Finished up in 2020 with the Yankees, stint through the Dodgers, Angels, Tigers, down the stretch.
Go
there.
for it. I want to hear the story.
All right. So 2018, I get released at the end of spring training. I go back home, lived in Denver. I thought at that point, like I had blew my leg out in 2017. I wasn't moving as well, put on some weight from, quite frankly, just sitting on the couch after being hurt. I couldn't walk, so there was no exercise, no mobility, none of that. I get back to Denver, and I thought that was going to be the end of it for me. Wally called me, I think maybe like a couple days after I got released. Come play independent ball. You got to come play for me. You're not getting a job in affiliated ball. It's the end of the season. I said, Wally, I'm not playing independent ball. I have always vowed that like I would not do it. All right. We hung up. 2 days later, Wally calls me again. Get your ass off the couch. Start playing. You got to get playing. I got to get you back into affiliated ball. You can fucking catch. No, Wally. All right. Fast forward now a couple weeks. We're like probably like early May. And I said, all right, I thought deep down my ego told me that I could just like get another job. Even though Wally kept saying, you're not going to get another job, dude. I know how this works. I said, all right, Wally, give me 7 days. Let me get my legs back in shape. Tell me where I need to go. And went to New Britain, Connecticut. We played for the New Britain Bees. Lived in the same hotel as Wally. Yeah. And then from there, the Tigers signed me about a month into it. And I went to mentor Jake Rogers up in Erie.
No, that was a good time. We had a good time for about a month. But you know what? I'm going to turn it over to Bruce. I know Bruce has got some questions for you, Josh, and I still have some more. So I'll get back at it.
All right.
You know, I want to ask you about that chuckle. Wait, don't go away, Wally. I want to ask you about that chuckle living in the same. This is not one of my questions, okay? But I want to ask you about that chuckle living in the same complex as Wally, because there was a chuckle there. I heard it.
Yeah, because Wally got me on the routine. You had to wake up at 8 o'clock for breakfast, no matter what time you went to bed. 8 o'clock. And he would drag. I mean, I was 2 doors down from him. He'd drag my ass out of the room. 8 o'clock, he's beating on my door. Let's go eat. So we go get breakfast, and then you go back to your room. You hang out a little bit, take a nap, whatever you got to do. 11:30 in the car, you're on the way to the yard. So we would sit up telling baseball stories till freaking Lord knows when. And then next thing you know, we're at breakfast, 8 a.m.
Wow. Well, did you ever this is not one of my questions. Did you have to pound on his door and wake him up?
Never. The seasoned veteran, I will say that.
Okay. I mentioned earlier, because a lot of the guests we've had were from like 86. Here's your tie to 86. You were born the day after the Mets won the World Series. How about that?
That's right.
That's unbelievable to me.
I think I was born on Parade Day.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you were born on Parade Day. Yes, you're absolutely correct about that. Nice jerseys in the background. What's a bigger thrill to you? Your first at-bat in the big leagues, and I want to go over this, you get a hit. What's a bigger thrill, that or catching Santana's? And you could speak selfishly if you want. I mean, it's your career. What's a bigger thrill for you?
Well, I mean, it's hard to like line them up against each other, quite frankly, because each like moment in my life was just so different. I was 23 years old. I was like super raw. I was in Denver, Colorado, playing in front of a bunch of people. Never have done it before. Get my first base hit in my first at bat, and then Bruce, there's a hidden stat in there. I did steal a base after my first hit.
Oh,
Um,
how many bases? How many bags did you steal in your career?
I don't know. Don't look it up.
Or
It's
that
not worth
won't. Don't
looking it
worry.
up.
Don't worry.
It's not worth looking it up. Um, but I, but I mean, from a historical perspective, though, I mean, truly catching the no hitter was something that, like, is I'll be honest, is a little bit of my identity. I mean, I know as we entered here, I was not a billboard name. I was not a blockbuster type guy. So that's something that I hang my hat on of the ability to catch the first no hitter ever.
Yeah. Hey, my last thought, and it's not really a question, but I just want to my memory of that ball game. Okay, that is one of two sporting events, and I'm not ashamed to admit this that I cried about. The Rangers winning the cup in '94. I see your Gretzky, but after so many years of getting pounded by the Islanders and humiliated, and that night that Santana threw that no hitter, I spent the last three innings on the telephone with my dad. My dad was a huge Mets fan, may he rest in peace. And literally both of us at the end of the game. That was a great, great, great night. So thank you for that.
Yeah, well, thank you, Bruce, and I'll say they should make like a documentary about this, because I hear a lot of those stories of lifelong Mets fans who have had the same experience. I picked up the phone, I called my dad. I picked up the phone, I called my brother. We watched the last two innings together. I think there's something there.
Josh, Jimmy Qualls gets a 2-out single to wreck Tom Seaver's perfect game in '69. I don't know how many one hitters Seaver had. Doc Gooden, all these one hitters. That's why. That's why. Because we got all
Yeah.
these one hitters and no hitters. And we were one of only, two or three teams in the big leagues at that time to never throw a no hitter. So that's, I think, why such the gravitational pull.
Yeah. Well, I mean, just think Wally in '86 on that staff. Like, holy shit, how did Doc never throw one? It fucking blows my mind.
Yeah, that's right. Hey, Wally, I want to hear more about. You as a manager. Hey, Josh, there's going to be. By the way, I'm going to hit Wally with this a little bit later on. There's going to be like 6, 7, 8 openings, and I plan on throwing a full petition with all of our listeners and viewers to get Wally back in the dugout. So I
Yeah.
have a plan here. Okay.
You got me at the top, Bruce.
All right. I want to hear more of that, Wally. I want to hear more of Wally as a game manager.
Well, we're going to talk about that, but I love to manage, but I know managing, the key to managing is running your bullpen pretty much, but I'll leave it at that. But Josh, how many fingers am I holding up?
2.
That's how many stolen bases you had. It's 2.
I told you not to look,
There's nothing
Wally.
you can keep from me.
Hey, well,
Anyway, I'm going to just really quick. I got a few things I want to ask you still, R.A. Dickey, you were his guy. He won the Cy Young that year. They kind of traded you guys as a package to Toronto, right? I mean, that was kind of part of the deal. I've heard some good things about R.A. I've heard some bad things about R.A. He wasn't a bad guy. I would get called up at the end of the season, to be one of the coaches on the bench when I was coaching in the minor leagues. But R.A. was a good guy, right? I mean, I've heard so much stuff from different people. Or was he the selfish guy that people say that he once was?
well, I mean, no, I mean, RA was a good guy. RA took care of RA. And he was 40 years old,
Right.
right? I mean, he's in the clubhouse with a bunch of 25-year-olds. It's going to come off a little bit like arrogant or whatever. But I had a good working relationship with RA. I actually just saw him in New York last year towards the end of the season. We don't stay in touch regularly, but I had a good working relationship with him, and I'll tell you, he worked his ass off. regardless of what you thought
Yeah,
of him.
no, I'm thinking, I'm kind of shocked at the fact that when I had you for the 1 month you played for me, whatever it wasn't very long, but I know we had a good time in that month. But I looked at you after I had you as being a coach, believe it or not. I mean, I thought you would be. I think Bob Nadle's still the catching instructor or whatever you call him for the Mets now, and I thought that would have been a great job for you. And did you not want to pursue it that way, or did you try to? Did you ever think about coaching that way?
Yeah, so I actually, yeah, Bob is still the catching coordinator, and I actually had dinner with him a few times this year when he'd come through Binghamton. I live near Binghamton
Nice.
now. Um, I had thought about it. The issue, Wally, kind of like the deciding factor for me was like, I mean, my kids are all grown. I spent the last, 10 years, pretty much their whole life being on the road away from them. And I know with the catching coordinator role, there's the ability to like be home and be on the road. But, I thought the game was changing a little bit. I'm much of a traditionalist when it comes to baseball. Um, I'm not I don't know. I'm just like the game was kind of slipping a little bit, in my opinion, with the analytics and all of that. And it wasn't the same. It wasn't the same as what I would say when I was a player earlier in my career. Sit around, listen to old stories, but I just never. I never really pursued it. I didn't. I wasn't eager to jump into anything right away. And as you know, Wally, once you get out and get removed from the game, it's hard to get back in. But yeah, I don't. I coach travel baseball. I enjoy the being around, like teaching the game to the younger kids as I'm like kind of how I believe through my own lens, and I think that's helpful not to be
Yeah,
micromanaged.
it's funny, Josh, because this is the first year. I still had a year left on my contract, and I backed out of it and to manage. First year that I haven't managed in, God only knows how long, but I did still manage this year. My grandson's first year at T-ball. You got to be shitting. I helped my son coach my grandson in T-ball, or it was coach pitch or whatever it was. He's like 8 years old. So it wasn't really his first year. His first year at coach pitch. I, I wish I would have just stayed somewhere and managed this year and didn't have to do that for those 10 games because I just had to bite my tongue the whole time. It's like, it's okay, buddy. You're getting better. You're getting better. You'll catch
Yep.
one of these balls
Yep.
one of these days.
Yeah, let's hope it's before the fucking games
No,
run
I
out.
know it's crazy, but
Yeah.
I think could be my final question, which I want you to get in on this because I know that you work for the Players Association, and I had some things with the Players Association over my career, but what did you do for the Players Association? What was it like working for the Players Association and that?
Yeah, so in so two, 2022, I was removed. I was out of the game. Spent kind of a year not sure what I wanted to do, and I was introduced to this guy Harry Marino, who was working for like the executive director for Advocates for Minor Leaguers. Made the connection. I asked him kind of like what he was all doing, and he said, "I want to unionize the minor league baseball players." And at that point, he needed people. He needed like organizers to go out and talk to the minor league baseball players. And we started building a relationship. So long story short, we went and unionized the minor league baseball players. About a handful of us that did it. Um, really, really cool feat. I'll say that was like probably one of the most memorable moments. As I kind of timeline my baseball career, that's something I'll never forget. It was so impactful. I mean, to the tunes of $600 million over the next 5 years for these minor league players. It was a big win at the bargaining table. It was just overall, it was good to see that changing because we lived it, right? And believe me, there was many a times I had to bite my tongue and say, "Damn, you have no idea how good you guys have it now." After we unionized them, I went into the PA and I serviced these guys for 1 year So anytime there's an issue, they would call me. When buses broke down, not that I could go tow the truck, but I was like kind of their point man at their expense a little bit. So I did that, and then I left. I left in February. I left in February to take a different gig.
Okay. All right. Well, again, Josh, I want to thank you for coming on. I know that we're going to have you on again when we have more time or whatever, but I wanted to give Bruce one last chance if he had a final question or anything for you after we've talked, and then I'll finish with you.
My only final thought is on that. So you were in on the early stages of what has come to fruition, which is unionizing the minor leagues. Because let's face it, before that, I mean, these guys, that per diem and all that stuff. I mean, these guys are just getting kicked around. And frankly, I'm not going to say treated like slaves. You're playing baseball. But let's put it this way. I'm not sure if that's not your greatest accomplishment. That's an unbelievable accomplishment.
Yeah, thank you, Bruce. I feel very proud of it. Like I said, there was a team of about 4 of us who did it. I mean, Harry was at it for about a year prior to hiring me. And then once he hired a couple other like organizers, if you will, to go out and start talking to the minor leaguers and really like doing it. It was definitely one of the biggest accomplishments of my career. I mean, like I said, it changed their life, no question. I mean, we all did it, right? And it's about working multiple jobs. And now the game, I mean, Wally, you used to, in the off season, you didn't have to work out 12 months a year. You get to take some time off, catch your breath a little bit. Now it's 12 months. They got this camp, that camp, weightlifting, heavy ball training, explosive camp. Like they have all of these things. So it's a year-round job. And when these guys are making, likes of $8,000 a year, it just doesn't work.
No, I agree with you, Josh. It's players have to rest. They've killed the game in senses when I go back to my time, and even at the start of your career, these players, there's more injuries today than you've ever seen in your life. But in the minor leagues, when I was with the Mets in the minor leagues, and we'd play a game that went to 12 o'clock, midnight or whatever, and I got the strength coach telling me, hey, I need those guys on the bus at 8 o'clock in the morning. And I'm saying, no, you're not. They're not going to be on the bus at 8 o'clock in the morning. They need their rest today. He says, well, I got to do my report. I says, well, you could put anything you want in that report. I don't care, and I'll agree with everything you said. But my players are not getting on that bus to go lift at 8 o'clock in the morning. But, with that all said, Josh, thanks, man. I appreciate it. I want to have you on again.
Yeah.
Hey, and I'm going to be in New York. I got a show the 12th. I think there's a big show the 12th and the 13th of October. I'm going to stay a few extra days to do some things. But you get a chance, come on down there and I'll buy you dinner and stuff. We'll go out and have a little fun one night.
Well, that sounds good, Wally. Thanks for having me on. And Bruce, I will be the lead signature on your petition. So you just tell me when.
Hey.
Wally thinks it's all about the bullpen. I actually think what he just said is why, because the players love him, period.
Hey, right with you, man. And I want to thank you for really one of the great thrills, ball game and catching that no-hitter. It was awesome. Thank you.
Well, thank you. Yeah, Wally, always good to see you as well.
You too, buddy.
It's a fucking team effort. Do it.
All right. Hey, Wally, I really enjoyed, man, Josh was great, man. Great talker, great personality, obviously a big sports fan with all that stuff. And, I really enjoyed that interview, man. So thank you for that.
Yeah, no, Josh is a good one. I want to have him on again at some point in time because there's so many stories that, with the time frame that we have, if we did this podcast today, it might have been 4 hours if we really got into it. So Josh is a great guy.
Excellent. And really enjoyable, and it was great. Now, folks, we've got some correspondence to Wally we'll get for you, but let me tell you how you can get a hold of Wally, and we've given you a lot of opportunities to make contact with the show. By all means, Wally loves the questions. Comments are fine too. I did happen to notice literally thousands of people hitting you up all weekend with the Facebook birthday messages. But if you want to get a hold of Wally, Absolutely. You can send them a belated birthday message at Wally Backman on Facebook. Or you can send him a birthday card if you want on X. It's Wally underscore Backman 6. If you want to get on and make a video for Wally's birthday, you can go to Instagram, Wally underscore at Wally underscore Backman 86. And yes, if you're on YouTube, you can go there as well. It's youtube.com/, The Wally Backman Show. Email The Wally Backman Show at gmail.com. And Wally can also be found on two different places signing autographs and greeting the fans. One is Pass Pros, and the other one is Cameo. Now, I've used Cameo. Why don't you tell us about both of these and how the folks can get in touch with you, Wally?
Well, one of the big things, Bruce, is Cameo. I've been with for quite a while, and it's videos. It's like happy birthdays. It costs people a little bit of money. It's not expensive, but it's where I can interact with the person with video, and it's been fun doing it. Most of us birthdays, and the people say, call this guy a pipsqueak, say whatever you want to say. They're always giving you ideas of what they want you to say to it, and but a big share of it is birthdays, or it could be anything in general that you talk about, and so it's a fun thing. It's a most of the time it's just a 30-second video. It could be from you to me. It could to any friend, or talking baseball. It can be anything that they want you to talk about. And it's actually fun. I've really enjoyed it, because people will ask me to say some crazy things. And when they ask you to say it, I say them. And so, like the last one was a pipsqueak. Call the guy a pipsqueak. He's going to have hip surgery, whatever. So I did all that kind of stuff. But Cameo is a good place to, and after I talk about Pass Pros is, it's unfortunate because people don't understand how much mail you actually get at home. And I'm Bruce, I just turned 65 this weekend. So you would be shocked how much mail I get. And so it's so hard to go through it. My daughter Tasha half the time has to come over from the valley in the weekend and try to open up stuff. I says, Tasha, there's no way I can sign all this stuff. So Pass Pros it's about all players, all sports. But and there's a fee. I think my autograph's like $15 in there. But my point to these to go into Pass Pros, opposed to sending them through the mail, you're guaranteed to get this stuff signed by me, because most everything that I do with Cameo and Pass Pros, the biggest part of the money that I make from these two people, which isn't a large amount of money, for the last few years, I've been donating the biggest share, if not all of it, to Tunnels of Towers and to Jude. So the money really goes to a good cause. So, those two companies are the ones that we decided to, as a family, that we were going to donate to, because it really goes to the people in need. So, again, Tunnels of Towers and Jude are people that are in need, and we all know what they're all about. But the proceeds that I get from Cameo and Pass Pros, if I was to say 90% goes to them, I'm probably pretty right. So most of the money goes to them.
Excellent. That's great. And I know I'm very familiar with Tunnels to Towers, and it's a great organization that literally, of all the major charities out there, has the smallest overhead. Well, what does that mean? That about 95 cents of your dollar goes to the cause, which is where you want to donate your money to. So good on you, Wally. Good on you, man. Makes you feel good as a human to help out those, especially first responders and soldiers, etc., and their families. All right, so we've got some correspondence, Wally. You ready to get to the questions and the comments?
Let's do her.
All right, first one is from Jeffrey Markowski. Wally is a switch hitter. I know you aren't fond of the platoon. That being said, did you have a good relationship with Tim Tuffle?
Absolutely, we did. Timmy and I both wanted to play every day. There's no question about it. In fact, here coming in October, we're going to be together at a signing thing, an 86 signing thing in New Jersey. I can't remember exactly where it's at, but You know, I wanted to play every day. Timmy wanted to play every day. But the bottom line is you don't see the platoon as much as you once did. But if you were to add up Timmy Tuffle's numbers in 86 and my numbers in 86 and combine them, we were probably the best second baseman overall in baseball that year. But no, I have no regrets. I did at the time. But when I look over what Frank Cashin did, um, we weren't the only platoon. He platooned Mookie and Lenny for a while. Davey did, and Davey did a great job. But they did the right things to make us a winner. But no, I wanted to play every day. There's no question about it. But to have any bad thoughts with Timmy, absolutely not, none, zero.
Yeah. Roger McDowell last week made a great point. A lot of people look at that Met team as wild and all that. And look, you guys had fun, okay? But how many teams in the big leagues today could have 3 platoons? And really, I'm not going to say it wasn't an issue. That's for you to speak about. But you platooned in center. You platooned at third with Hojo and Knight, Mookie and Lenny in center, and you and Timmy Tuffle. And yet, didn't skip a beat, man. Didn't skip a beat. You could never, Roger said this, that could never happen in today's baseball.
No, the year that, unfortunately, when I got traded to Minnesota, and I left Minnesota after that first year, I had some injuries. I went to Pittsburgh because Jimmy Leland called me and says, Wally, can you play third base? I said, Jimmy, I have no idea if I can play third base. I never have. So I went to Pittsburgh, and we won the division that year. We lost to the Reds in the playoffs, but I platooned with Jeff King at third base. We had Gary Reedus and Sid Bream at first base. We had Mike LaValliere and Don Slott catching behind the plate. And somehow, with Barry Bonds, Bobby Bonilla, and Andy Van Slyke in the outfield, somehow Jim Leland got R.J. Reynolds almost 400 at bats. And I might be wrong on the at bat, got him a lot of playing time. So it works. It keeps you fresh. It keeps you competitive because everybody wants to play. And you want to play every day. So it keeps you competitive. And like me, I'm fighting against Timmy. Timmy's fighting against me. I'm fighting against Jeff King, who was a first-round pick when I was in Pittsburgh. But you're still friends. You're a team. It's like brothers. You spend 8-9 months with these individuals over the course of a season when you're talking about spring training and all that stuff. So somehow you got to become a family, and that's what Jimmy Leland and Davey Johnson did good for a couple of the teams that I played for. So, they brought us together. It was huge.
Yeah. Here's a great question from Keith Potter. Wally, do you think Davey Johnson's managing style helped the Mets organization be the best it could be at that time?
100%. And I'll tell you why. Davey Johnson was really the first manager that anybody ever talks about he was a computer whiz, and I want to have Davey on the show one day because he really was the first guy, I think, that kind of looked at the analytics because he had numbers. That's what Davey would do. He'd come to the park early. He'd get on his computer, and whatever numbers you could find, you had to do the homework yourself. Now you have these interns to do all the homework for you, but then you didn't have that. So Davey had to do his work. So there's no way that, I don't care who he had managing that team in 86. There's no other manager in baseball at that given year that could have won 108 games during the regular season because he was on top of everything he needed to be on top of. So, I congratulate him for that, and he was a great guy to play for.
Yeah, let me do a follow-up on that, Wally, because you said, he was into the computer and everything. But, how often would you say he would play a hunch? Because his hunches were often correct.
Well, you know what? A hunch is, you have to play hunches. You cannot, even in today's world, you cannot go 100% by the book. If a guy's hot or if he's not, then you probably go by the book. But if he's hot, you can't go by the book. I mean, there's different things that happen throughout a game, especially in today's game. a pitcher before could come in just up till a few years ago, come in and face one hitter. Now they got to come in and face three. So it's taken a lot of the lefty specialty guys away, which is kind of sad because I always thought there was a place for them. And that's one of the things in baseball. Some of the things in baseball that down the road we can get further into with the changes and things like that. You have commissioners, you got all these people that think that they know the game that didn't know how to swing a bat, couldn't play on little league teams, but they're going to make all these changes to think it's making it better for baseball. But baseball is, this is why baseball is the greatest game. I'll tell you why. There's no time limit. There's no time limit. It's the only sport there's no time limit in. And I believe. And
well, pitching, there's a little bit with the pitchers.
Yeah.
But not the game. Not the game itself. I'm sorry.
Yeah. No, but there's no time limit in a game. The pitching is changed in the sense that, boy, they really got to hold these guys down, just like Josh had said when I asked him before about Santana throwing 134 pitches, and Terry had said he's only not going to let him throw more than 115. Well, you know what? When a no-hitter's on the line, I think Terry did the right thing. He did what he went to his player. He went to his pitcher. He went to his catcher. He probably went to Dan Worthen, the pitching coach, and they decided, okay, let's let him do this. So I think Terry did the right thing, and I don't blame Terry for anything that happened to Johan Santana because of the accident that he had before, which I had talked about with Josh, I think, about tripping over first base or whatever and hurting his ankle. But no, I have no regrets. If I was Terry, I'd have done the same thing.
Yeah, I'm right with you. The last one, Wally, I find this to be fascinating. I can't wait to hear what your answer is. This is from Jared Dillon. What was your lowest moment, and how did you get through it?
Oh, that's the easiest question that I never wanted to answer. So,
wow,
we're playing on Saturday, game of the week, in Candlestick Park against the Giants. Well, everybody knows it was the Giants. And the sun and the wind is terrible there. So, in the same game, Hubie Brooks was playing third base, I believe, and a lot of room on the third base side, first base side. Hubie goes over to catch a high pop fly that's foul, and he's coming running across the infield, and I catch the ball at second base. That's how hard the wind was blowing.
Wow.
So in that same game, I have a pop-up, and the sun was just always between the third base dugout. It would come over Candlestick like that, and we're playing a day game, and it's game of the week. It's on a Saturday. I believe it was on a Saturday. I'd have to maybe look it up. But anyway, pop fly to me. It goes straight up in the sun. I have those flip down glasses, the sunglasses, and I flip them down. And I know that ball's coming out of the sun. I know it's coming out of the sun. And I know I'm right under it. And it's game of the week. And Bruce, I never seen the ball. It hit me on the button of the hat on the top of my head and knocked my hat off. And that was on game of the week. Not only did I want to go to my knees and cry because it hurt like shit, but it was on game of the week. And I was like, oh my God, how many people seen this? And all the players are laughing. Yeah, but that was probably my most embarrassing moment.
Wow, that's great, man. That is great. And for the young viewers and listeners, game of the week was a big deal. You had, Hall of Fame broadcasters doing the game. And it's not like today where every game is on TV somewhere. Right. You got your hometown teams, and then you got the game of the week. So if you wanted to see other teams, that's a big deal, Wally. And I can see why you would be a little embarrassed, by the way. I'm sure your brothers got all over you, man.
Oh, it never stopped. They laughed at me. I got to where I got mad. But you know what? I never seen the baseball, and I did get an error. They gave me an error. I never seen a baseball. There should be one error off of my stats.
Okay. All right. Aided by the sun. This is what you get with social media. So send in the comments and the questions again. On Instagram, it's at Wally_Backman86. Facebook at Wally Backman. On X, Wally_Backman6. YouTube, it's youtube.com/The Wally Backman Show. Email the Wally Backman Show at gmail.com. And don't forget, you can now get Wally on Pass Pros and also on Cameo. And having gotten Cameo video from a friend of mine for a birthday, this was from Sean Avery, who used to play for the Rangers, Wally. It's phenomenal, man. It's a birthday present a present you will never forget.
It's actually a lot of fun. It's not really expensive. It's for the people, it's for the fans, and like you said, you got one. And so it's something that you cherish and you save for the rest of your life, so or whatever, but it's a fun time because you get to interact with the fans.
Yeah, and don't forget, Wally and his family donate a lot of the proceeds to tunnels, to towers, and elsewhere. I'm very familiar with them, and kudos to him, and kudos to Tunnels to Towers for what they do. Wally, we're ready for our last licks. I've got a couple of shots. I'm sure you got a couple of shots to get in, so let's do that. All right, great social media interaction, ladies and gentlemen. We like to call the final segment Last Licks. It's where Wally and sometimes I can get a shot in or a praise. It's our last thoughts. Wally, I'm going to start with Sunday Night Baseball the previous week. We go to the audio tape. Carl Ravitch, ESPN, describing what's going on. What you're going to see is Pete Alonso coming to the plate.
They are standing here for Pete Alonso. He addresses the crowd. He, of course, is a free agent after this season. This is the final home game of the regular season. And they are in a race for the postseason. Not sure if there will be any more games at Citi Field. So they'll salute the polar bear and what he's done.
Wally, I have a new thought. I think Pete's going to come back. I think he's going to give now Boros doesn't give discounts. We know that, okay? And look, you've been represented by an agent. I have. They have a job to do. We asked them to do. But I think that, first off, nobody's going to pay Pete Alonso, blow the Mets out of the water because he hasn't having that kind of season. Number two, I do believe that he has an affinity for that uniform and those fans. I think they're going to come to a deal, even if it's maybe a 1-year deal with an option, an opt-out, something like that. Thoughts on that, Wally?
Yeah, no, I know. I hope they come to a deal. I hope they come to a long-term deal with him. There's a lot of things that they can do. They got Brett Beatty. They still Vientos finally got his opportunities. So a lot of moving parts here. Pete, the fans of New York love Pete Alonso. I love him. He plays hard. He's a guy you can write in the lineup every day. Knock on wood, he doesn't get injured very often. He may play, I think, every game of the season this year. I like the guy. He's got Scott Burrows, and that's a tough guy to deal with. I don't know if Pete will take a smaller salary that the guy might get him, but the thing that Pete has shown to me that he understands that New York is the best city in baseball to play in, or the best city for sports to be in. So I'm hoping the kid comes to his senses and realizes that, money's not the issue. He's going to make money, and he's going to make a lot of money, and he's never going to have to worry about it. So, sometimes players get into the greed part of it, I think, today, and it's all about the money. But, the organization is set to win and to become a winner. Like I said before, and other ones, that Stern has done a great job with this organization. Probably the best first-time general manager coming in his first year. So yeah, I hope Pete stays, and I know the fans want him to stay.
What do you got? I know you got a couple of good stuff.
No. The one guy that we really need to talk about, which all I know about him, never talked to the gentleman, Ohtani. I think what I'm seeing in today's world, and he hasn't pitched this year, and so if he pitched, maybe he wins 15 games. He's pretty damn good as a pitcher. This is the best player in baseball. I don't care. I could argue this with 350 million people, however many people live in the United States. I could argue every day that this is the best player that we're ever going to see in baseball. This guy, just as a player this year, not as a pitcher, he's the first guy to go 50-50. He's hitting 303 for the Dodgers right now with 53 home runs, 125 RBIs, 56 stolen bases, and that's as of today. If they don't have Ohtani, the Dodgers, I'm going to tell the people the Dodgers don't even make the playoffs this year.
Yeah, I will say this, Wally. I'm not ready to anoint him the best player ever, but I'm close. He's definitely the best player in the game. No disrespect to Aaron Judge. This is no small guy to steal 56 bags. This is not me we're talking about, okay? This is a big man. I will say this. I think it's case closed if he does 40 plus and contends for the Cy Young, let alone wins it next year, Wally. You know, you could give me Babe Ruth and Hank Aaron and Willie Mays, and they're all just top of the charts. But no human being alive is wired to be able to pitch great in the major leagues and also be a feared slugger who could steal you a bag. There's nobody been ever like that. There never will be anybody like this.
I agree, Bruce. I mean, he's the first guy to go 50-50, and we still have some games left in the season, so God only knows what's going to go on. You know, my last thing, I got to talk about my birthday last weekend, or this weekend, and it was great. It was a surprise party. I don't know. I had 40, 50 people in my house. I was waiting for them to go. We're playing cornhole, if people know what that is. I call it bags. We're out there in the backyard playing cornhole. I got 15 little kids running around, 6 grandkids. And then after that was over with, I got to get this in. I went golfing with my son, Wally Jr., and my oldest daughter, for Jennifer. And Tasha, who helps with what we do here on our podcast, she can't golf. But she told me, she says, Dad, she says, some point in time, you have to say who your favorite kid is in your family. So I'm going to say, Tasha, it's you today, and I don't know who tomorrow.
That's so great. That's so great, man. And she is a tremendous help to this program. All right, Wally, it's Thursday. If folks don't know, we usually record the show on Thursday. That means Thursday night football. And all I want to say, Wally, is unlike Jimmy Johnson, okay, the Dallas Cowboys have used the Giants for a chew toy. They beat them 40-0 in one of the 2 games last year and smashed them in the other. It changes tonight, Wally. The Big Blue, the G-Men, take down the Dallas Cowboys.
I hope you're right, because then the Giants quarterback might be a hero, finally. After however many years, I hope you're right.
Wally, if you want to get a hold of Wally, ladies and gentlemen, social media, and we love the good questions and the challenging probes and, of course, all the praise. Instagram, it's at Wally_Backman86. On Facebook, at Wally Backman. On X, Wally_Backman6. You can get them on YouTube, the show, every week, and the episode drops on Tuesday. It's youtube.com/The Wally Backman Show. And on email, thewallybackmanshow@gmail.com. Don't forget, also on Cameo and Pass Pros. Thanks to Josh Thole for appearing on the show. Happy belated birthday, Wally, and let's go Mets.
Let's go Mets. Let's see what happens.